You are listening to the Maple Footy Podcast, the unofficial football podcast of the North. I'm your host, Sam Little. Find me on socials at SamLittle44 and the podcast at Maple Footy Pod. And now there's nothing left to say except for sit back, enjoy, and welcome to the show.
Hello, and welcome back to the Maple Footy Podcast. And recording this one back to back with the CPL one I just did of Forge and Cavalry, but the Cavalry Forge one will go out before this one. So if you have not listened to that, pause this one, head over and listen to Forge Cavalry, because I think it was a pretty good one. And then come back and listen to this one, get a double dose of Sam and Maple Footy, if ye will. As I said at the start of the Cavalry Forge one, I woke up with a little bit of a sore throat today, which is annoying, and I have been, while I was recording the Forge Cavalry one, I paused that so many times to drink some water and keep my throat less scratchy. So I'll probably be doing that one with this as well. So if my voice starts sounding strange or funny, just know that's probably why. But today we're talking about some Canadian footballers and what they've done in the last week or so. As this is going up on Thursday, I believe I've got it penciled in for. This is going up on Thursday, so there may be some things that happen there might be some things I'm talking about that really will have happened like more than a week ago once this goes up, which is annoying, but that's the way it is right now, I guess. And then there will be some things over the next 2 days, so like Tuesday night and Wednesday, that may happen that just might not be covered, just because, once again, this is being recorded on the Tuesday day. Like, for instance, Minnesota are facing the Seattle Sounders today, later, in their second leg of potential 3. Such a stupid format. But if Minnesota does win that, then they will be through. So just know if they do lose or do go through, I'm not acknowledging it. It just, as of recording, has not happened, even though it will have happened by the time you have listened. Makes sense, right? So what are we talking about today, you may ask? We would talk about some Canadian stuff and then talk about the Whitecaps and their win over Dallas to send them through to the conference semifinals, which is a big achievement. So let us begin. So we will start off with probably the oldest bit of news in this. Tino Washehi got his first hat trick with Villarreal in the Copa del Rey. That is huge. I think that'll do the world of good for his confidence, which is always good. My thing with Tanny is always, please just replicate it at the international level. He showed a lot of composure with a lot of these goals. So just do that when you're playing for Canada, please. But yeah, really, really happy for him. Always love to see a guy get a chance and take it, especially if he is Canadian. And there's a lot of competition at Villarreal right now as well. So that, I think, goes a long way to kind of show, you know what, maybe there's some potential, a player here. Maybe Villarreal will go, okay, we can nurture this and play to his strengths and see what he can do. And I think that's always a good thing. We will move into the MLS Cup playoffs, as there's a good few Canadian boys in there making some noise. The Columbus Crew beat Cincinnati 4-0 to force Game 3 in their playoff run. I'm mentioning this because Canadian striker Jason Russell-Rowe grabbed himself a goal and an assist in the 4-0 demolition. That is very good. I'm a fan of Russell-Rowe. I think there's a lot of potential there. I think it just sucks that right now we have a lot of Canadian strikers that Jesse Marsch seems to want to try out and give a shot. But I do think that Russell-Rowe could have an outside shot of being a striker with the Canadian men's national team. I mean, he has been called up, so it's not like he's an unknown commodity. Like, he has been called up. He's played under Jesse Marsch as well. And I think that there is potential here, and I think he is one to watch, and he showed it again in a big game for Columbus. He's done well with Columbus, I think. He's been a good player for Columbus, is an MLS Cup champion as well in the past, so he's doing something right. And yeah, goal and an assist for him in a big-time game. I think that's pretty huge. Moving along here, as the All-American Rejects once said, Portland also forcing Game 3 against San Diego. which is also pretty massive. Portland have a big task as well going into Game 3 against San Diego, as San Diego are the top seed in that bracket. But Portland's showing some fight here, which is the point of playoffs, Sam. But I think it's good because on the final day of the season, Portland got thumped 4-0 by San Diego. And then since then, against San Diego, I know, funny how it works out, right? In the playoffs against San Diego, their first game, they kept it pretty close. It wasn't like a terrible outing. They had a very good game. Pantemis was unreal. Sadly, they did lose 2-1 in that first game, so they had to get a result in this game to force a Game 3. And they do. 2-2 in regular time with a big goal in the 98th minute from Portland. Otherwise, they were heading out. That is... I love it. But they were heading out, and then, of course, went to penalties. James Pantemis did not have to make a penalty save. San Diego put 2 over and 1 off the bar. So, Pantemis, pretty easy penalty shootout for him. But, yeah, really, Portland, as I've kind of said, are kind of like the honorary 4th Canadian team at the moment. You know, they've got guys like Kamal Müller, James Pantemis, Zach McGraw, and Maxime Crepeau. Almost forgot about Crepeau. That's crazy. In there. Crepeau, of course, heavily linked with TFC still at the moment. We'll be interested to see if he actually does end up going to TFC. But right now, all focus for him is, I'm sure, on Portland if he is called upon in this playoffs. But right now, it looks like Pantemis' spot to lose. But I do think, as I've said multiple times, I think it would be good for Pantemis and Crepeau to separate at club level, because I think you will see the best of both of them more consistently at club level if they're playing for different clubs. That's my opinion, though. Nashville, Jacob Schaffelberg. They're going to Game 3 against Inter Miami. Not many people would have predicted that. I'm happy about it. I would love to see Schaffelberg once again dunk on Lionel Messi to prove once and for all who the real GOAT is. No, but in all seriousness, I don't think many people would have predicted this. I think a lot of people thought that this was going to be 2-0 series for Miami. They would move on. But Nashville making it difficult for Inter Miami, winning the second game 2-1 to force Game 3. Of course, that Game 3 will be in Miami, so it will be difficult. But anything is possible in playoff football. And hopefully maybe we see a big Jacob Schaffelberg performance in that third game. My apologies. We're going to take a quick trip over to Europe as Promise David scored a goal in a 4-1 win for Union. It was actually a very nice team goal. It's on Union's Instagram, so definitely go look at that because it was a greatly worked team goal. Promise David finishes off with a nice little tap in. This was really MLS heavy. I almost forgot to mention Promise David. I apologize. I won't promise it won't happen again, though. Oh my gosh, terrible jokes. But we'll go back to the MLS now, as LAFC have beaten Austin, which means Vancouver will have to vanquish their playoff demons in LAFC, who they have not had the best of times with against LAFC in the past. But, as I just said, anything's possible in the playoffs. Also, now the Whitecaps do have Thomas Müller, so it can happen. And we'll talk a little bit more about that very, very shortly, right after this, actually, because the final story that I have not related to the Whitecaps is, as of today, as recording, Dayne St, who I have said has been, at worst, a top 3 MLS goalkeeper this season. Turns out he's top 1. He was named MLS Goalkeeper Player of the Year. That is huge. That's massive. Really happy for him. I love to see Canadians get like an individual award like this. I think that's great, especially in a league with some very good goalkeepers. Really happy for him. I think he has shown a number of occasions for Minnesota that he is very good. He is apparently, I don't know how true this is, but is apparently getting some interest from teams in Europe. Of course, Minnesota does want to keep him, but I believe that the understanding is they won't hold him back from going if he would like to. Once again, those are just the rumor mills, according to some like Minnesota United fan pages that are saying this stuff. So time will tell. I do think obviously Minnesota would like to keep him, but we'll see. Regardless, that's a great award for him to win. But with that being said, let us travel over to Vancouver, talk a little bit about our Whitecaps. All right, let's chat about the Whitecaps and a big win. Oh my gosh, my throat is dying right now. But this is what I do. I persevere. I push through just for you, my Maple Footy enjoyers. We'll start in goal and then move up as we tend to do with these. Takaoka in net for the Whitecaps. Made a couple of big stops for the Whitecaps on the day, as he usually does. Committed his box quite well. Oh my God. Sorry, just me being dramatic. Handled the crosses coming in quite well. Really commanded his area really nicely. Maybe not the greatest of penalty shootouts from him if we're going to get really picky. Which is something I think to maybe not be super concerned about, because it's not like you want to go to penalties. But, penalties in the playoffs are a possibility. And the first penalty, I think he should save. And then the two that were missed were just missed, kind of like the Portland ones, where one goes over the bar and one goes off the bar. Weird how that works. Both those games were kind of weirdly identical, too, where the winning team scored a last-minute equalizer to take it to penalties, and the winning side's goalkeeper didn't have to make a save, even though the losing side missed a lot of penalties. The weird things I notice. But yeah, Takaoka, who was himself also nominated for goalkeeper of the year, really, really, I think he's had a good season, and he's a good set of hands, good set of gloves is the saying, I think, to have in the box and in between the sticks. And yeah, he looked good on the day. Like I said, if we want to get super nitpicky, penalty shootout wasn't amazing for him, but in the end, it didn't actually matter because they got the job done anyways. Whew. Moving up to his defense here. Sorry, this one might be a short one, guys. I'm very sorry. Tate Johnson, the starting left back on the day, wasn't as influential in this game, didn't have as much to do, and that is because, sadly, he came out at halftime with an apparent shoulder injury. I don't know the severity of it, but regardless, that sucks. Hopefully he's not injured. The Whitecaps have had a terrible time with injuries this season. Gauld spent most of the season out injured. Kubi's been out for a long time. Brian White. I can't believe I didn't say Brian White. Brian White, Tristan Blackman. A lot of guys out currently. Not good. You don't love to see it. And it is good that some of these guys are, like Ryan Gauld is back. Hopefully they do get Brian White back at some point in this playoff run. But, I think it's very touch and go at that. And now adding onto the list, Tate Johnson, not good. Hopefully it was maybe just precautionary. Maybe he felt something wrong with his shoulder. And, I mean, we're trying to be optimistic here. But, yeah. So hoping that he is good to go for the next game, but we will see. Ocampo, though, on the right, I thought had another good game, as he typically does and has this season for the Vancouver Whitecaps. He is playing just, as I kind of said last time I talked about him, he's playing as you would want your modern-day right back to play. He's good, I think, one-on-one defensively, and he's good going forward, always an outlet. He was able to get up and put some nice crosses in as well, which you do want to see. Made a good couple crucial clearances and interceptions at times as well. So, yeah, that brings me to an end on Ocampo. Into the center of the defense, Halbuni, once again, really anchoring this defense really well. Another one where he made a couple of very big clearances, a couple big interceptions, and one massive tackle as well. He won most of his aerial duels as well, which, I mean, a guy that is as big as he is, you would expect him to do so. But yeah, I'm quite the fan of him. He hasn't been their starting center back for all of this season, but when he has been called upon, he has looked good. And now with him being really their only healthy, recognized center back, he really has to step up. And in these two games against Dallas, he really has. Speaking of stepping up, Ralph Priso. I'm so happy for him, man. I really like Ralph Priso. And I had said it last game when they put him at center back. It was definitely a different task for him. And it was on this day as well. I'm really, really happy for him, though. He He showed once again that he looks very calm back there, and he's, as you would expect, good on the ball, good with the distribution to help build from the back for the Whitecaps, which you would expect as he is a natural midfielder. But the defensive bits he was doing as well, you also love to see, because he did make a couple of nice clearances as well. He won a couple tackles too, which you need when you're playing center back and you're not center back. And of course, really bailed Vancouver out, right place, right time, off of a corner kick. Thomas Müller then kind of gets the ball, heads it towards Priso. Priso then tucks the ball away. As I said, right place, right time. And then it pushes Whitecaps into the penalty shootout. They have all the momentum, and then of course they do in fact win the penalty shootout, not having to go to game 3. So a nice extended rest break for them. But yeah, Ralph Priso showing that he can be a little bit of a Swiss Army knife. Maybe an outside shout at a Canadian call-up. Sadly, I don't think so. But hey, you never know. Maybe DeMarsh does give him a shot. I would like to see it. I wouldn't be against it. I think he's had a good season and is stepping up in a big way for the Whitecaps right now. So we'll see. Into the center of the park, we got Kubos starting us off. And kind of like last game, I thought he was everywhere on the pitch, which, you want from your central midfielder. Helped really control the game, slow the game down. I do think he was a little bit sloppy on his passing at times. Kind of got caught a couple of times. Just turned my microphone off as I was trying to adjust it. But yeah, got kind of caught at times. Was a little bit sloppy. So you would expect going into the LAFC, almost a Galaxy, LAFC legs, he's going to have to clean that up, especially against a team like LAFC, who will really punish you. But yeah, I do think that he did still have a couple of creative passes, if you will, some chances created. But yeah, definitely by no means am I saying, oh, he was terrible. But yeah, just a little bit sloppy at times, I found. But hopefully just a one-off. He was very good in the previous game, so we'll hope for him to show up like that in the next game against LAFC. Sebastian Berhalter, another guy that was all over the pitch. Another guy who was kind of a little bit sloppy on the ball as well with his passing, but he made up for it with the fact that he is literally the Energizer Bunny out there, just running around and making tackles, making plays, helping link the play as well from defense to attack. And yeah, he just looked quite good. He's had a very good season, so it's pretty well expected that he's going to look good. Scored a great penalty as well. So yeah, hats off to Berhalter. I thought he looked good. He looks very calm and composed in that midfield and has really grown into quite the leader this season in particular for the Whitecaps. I know that there are some rumors around him and his future with the Whitecaps. I think it would be a shame if they lost him, but of course if he does get like a great offer, it would be kind of hard to turn down depending on where it is and where he's from. But yeah, we'll wait and see on that. We won't speculate just yet. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a good game. A little bit sloppy, so those two midfielders are going to have to really clean up on that against LAFC because they will make you pay. But overall, I thought that even when they were sloppy, they still recovered well, if that makes sense. I feel like that makes sense, right? Moving up ahead of them, Sabi. Not his most influential game, I thought. He struggled, I think, to really get involved. I praised him for really linking up well with Müller in the last game, and I just don't think that was there this game. He just kind of really struggled to get involved, was dispossessed a couple of times. His distribution wasn't the best. He also just didn't see a ton of the ball either. I found he was kind of holding on to the ball a little bit too long when he did have it. But yeah, overall, not his best outing, which I think is a little bit disappointing coming off of the first Dallas outing. But it happens, right? Moving over to his left wing counterpart, Ali Ahmed. The Canadian's about to be biased about Canadian. Who would have thunk it? I thought he looked good. I mean, I think that, as I've said now a few times in the last little bit, he's playing some of the best football, probably the best football that he has played in his whole career. He had a good few chances created. Of course, they didn't technically amount to, an assist or a goal, what have you. But he was really he looked like one, outside of Müller, like their only guy that was going to create something in that final third. And he also was even chipping in defensively as well, made a couple of nice tackles, a couple of nice clearances and blocks, which is kind of what you want from your winger, to track back, do the bits that maybe not all wingers like to do, or do just in general. So yeah, I think it was a good outing for Ali Ahmed, and as he has been just this season in general, I think he's been very creative. And we'll see another one where his future is currently up in the air. So kind of like Berhalter, I think it would be a shame if the Whitecaps lost him. But if a good offer comes around from a good club, I think it would be kind of hard for either of them to say no. But once again, those are worries to have in the offseason. Thomas Müller, though. Thomas Müller. He has really helped this Whitecap side, I think, where they kind of hit a little bit of a slump mid-ish way through the season. Once Müller came in, he has really changed it for them. He looked really good on the day. I mean, as you would expect. Kind of another guy that was maybe a little bit sloppy with his passing, but with Müller, I'm going to sound like so contradictory here. But with Müller, I think you give him a little bit of a pass because he was really trying to create stuff, so all of his passes just weren't landing naturally. And I think it just stems from maybe sometimes he's on a different wavelength than his team, because Müller is just, he's one of the best of the last 20 years, you know what I mean? One of the most underrated for sure. So naturally, I feel like he's going to be operating on a different wavelength than everybody else, and I think that at times it makes it, I don't want to say difficult for him, but maybe a little bit less cohesive for him to really blend in with the team. That being said, though, when it clicks, and for the most part with the Whitecaps, it has properly clicked. This was one of the outliers where it was one of those days where it's like, oh, it feels like he's playing at a different pace than everyone. But regardless, he helps get the job done. He doesn't get the official assist on the Ralph Priso goal because Priso's first shot was saved and then he followed up with the rebound. But let's be real, that was an assist from Müller. And he scored a nice penalty in the shootout as well. Reyes led the line, and kind of like the first game, he was really working off of scraps. In this one, felt really well marked out of the game. I think, I hate to be that guy, but I do think that they do miss a Brian White, because even when it feels like he's marked out of the game, he still feels like he's going to make something happen. Whereas with Reyes, it just it feels like if it's not his day, it's not his day. You know what I mean? Like with Brian White, even if it's not his day, it's like, okay, but I could still see him scoring. But with Reyes, it feels like, okay, it's just not his day. I don't think it's happening. And this was that, and I think the manager, Jesper Sorensen, also felt that way because in the 55th, Reyes was taken off. So not his best day, sadly, for him. But, Whitecaps still ended up winning anyways. At halftime, moving into substitutes, at halftime, Laborda came on for Tate Johnson. He looked pretty good, I thought. Made a couple of big clearances for the team, was able to kind of get forward. Also, probably the cleanest on the ball on the day. Just, the fact that he completed 100% of his passes, that's pretty crazy. He did have a few good passes into the final third, trying to make something happen for the Whitecaps attackingly, even though is attackingly a word? We'll say it. Attackingly, they didn't have their best outing, but he was really trying to be an outlet, which you do like to see. In the 55th, Almouni came on for Reyes. Kind of like Almouni really struggled to get into this game. Kind of working off of scraps as well, only really registering 2 shots, none on target. So it just kind of shows you that it was it just wasn't a striker's day, In the 75th, Ryan Gold came on for Kubos. Didn't have a whole ton of time to really get himself properly into the game, but you could still see the quality of player. I'm really, really excited to see him and Müller properly play together. But I think that we're probably going to have to wait until next season for that. But regardless, you could tell he looked full of energy and ready to do something in this game. But yeah, just only had the 15 minutes to really do anything. Dayne St also came on in the 84th. I mean, not a whole ton. He had one shot, though, which is nice. But yeah, not a whole ton to really talk about with Dayne St. But I would like to see him play more, if that means anything to you. But yeah, I think, wrap it up here. My throat is killing me at the moment. So I apologize. This is probably not the best ever episode, and not the most in-depth for the Whitecaps. I do apologize, hoping that by the time that they do face LAFC, that my voice is a little bit, not that my voice sounds bad. It never does. My throat, I should say, feels a bit better. But I think LAFC will be a tough task, but I will hang my hat on the fact that it's the two DPs here. I know Müller's not technically a DP, but the two DPs here are Müller and St. And I'm going to say that St hopefully carries over the Tottenham gene to LAFC for this one, and that LAFC kind of bottles it. All love to Mathieu Choinière, who plays for LAFC. Obviously, don't want to root against a Canadian boy. But we're going to say hopefully maybe we see the Tottenham gene come out for LAFC against the Whitecaps. We shall see. Who knows? But yes, this will wrap up this episode of the Maple Footy Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. If you haven't listened to the CPL coverage, I would highly suggest doing so. More CPL coverage will be coming next week with the Maple Footy CPL Awards and the Maple Footy CPL Final recap. So definitely stick around for those. I think that you will enjoy them if you like Canadian football. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. This wasn't my greatest one, but I do hope that you still found some enjoyment in it. And yeah, until next time. Cheers, everyone.
And that was your Maple Footy Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. Check my socials for any and all future updates. Remember to support Canadian football, be kind, and until next time, live, laugh, little.